Alright, good morning, Earth. This is Adam Sturch podcasting from the Mushroom Mansion, Taos, New Mexico, working on an oil painting contact. Okay, today what we're going to do is just block in the coloration for the Stellar J. I've got a bunch outside that we've been feeding, and they're become good friends, and I really wanted to incorporate one into this painting. So we need to block him in before the leaves and the ants start filling the rest of the composition, along with the patterning of the hornet, which all has to kind of come in last. So this may be one of the final compositional elements. This guy, I'm not sure what else might show up in or around the tree or around the purple figure or central figure quite yet. I'm just letting this painting grow slowly as I sort of ponder the experience that it was based on. But anyway, for the moment, I'm just going to block in some Stellar J color. Here we go. Got some ultramarine blue mixed up, some Payne's gray, a little bit of white, and some cerulean blue, and a touch of linseed.
You'll recall that in, I think it was 1888, Lewis, the German pharmacologist, went to, of all places, Cincinnati, and scored 120 pounds of peyote, which he dutifully took back to Berlin and set to work upon, and quickly isolated the active principle, or it was isolated by a colleague of his. That initiated the modern era of psychopharmacology, and quickly tourmaline in the 20s, LSD in the 40s, psilocybin and DMT in the 50s, and then more exotic compounds were discovered. But as quickly as they were discovered, they were made illegal, and they were professionally stigmatized, so that scientific careers were ruined if people chose to involve themselves in these substances. Well, now here's an interesting paradox. Science, which claims a kind of universal objectivity, which claims a kind of God-given right to probe into all dimensions and domains of nature, actually grew very queasy at the possibility of chemical agents being used to study and elucidate consciousness. And I think that when we analyze this modern institutional reluctance to deal with these compounds, what we uncover is in fact the lost history of the human race and the secret of our transcendent nature, our difference from the rest of animal nature is linked to the psychedelic compounds. And so is our sexuality. And so is our peculiar adaptive intelligence. This is the situation, you see, that we are half angels, half animals, half in the dimension of the rest of nature, and half in a dimension which can barely be described, the dimension of globe-girdling information transfer networks, high technology, the elucidation of the inner structure of stars and atoms, a world created by mind, a world created by the operation of abstraction. And this is the great thing which we do.
Straight hair
take
here.
data
Good
and
technique for
matter,
getting rid of that.
and we elaborate these things into constructs, either physical artifacts, machines, art galleries, cities, or ideological constructs, Marxism, feminism, Catholicism, Zoroastrianism. We seem to be the creature that can download the ideas expansion into the world of matter. And so where we are, there is an interfacing between the world of ordinary nature and some kind of transcendent force. And I really believe that history is the trail in the snow, if you will, of this journey toward a fusion of spirit and matter. That the alchemical dream of the 16th century, which was the fusion of spirit and matter, was naively believed to be something that a single individual could achieve working alone in some Bavarian laboratory. This is not what it is, I think. I think human history is the alchemical process. The human organism is the primal material, and our dreams are the goals that guide this process. And we have pursued this path for so long that there now is no going back. The only possibility now is what I call a forward escape. That means where you just put the pedal to the floor and close your eyes and go for it. Because there's no going back. And my interest in psychedelics arises from two sources. Number one, the clear evidence available to everyone that societies that use psychedelics practice a kind of dynamic equilibrium with the earth and with the environment. They are stable. That's one factor argument for the psychedelic experience. The other factor, a much more personal factor, is that it's the only thing I've ever seen which would turn people around as fast as we have to turn around if we're to avoid the fatal momentum of our past mistakes. Because we inherit essentially a runaway freight train on a downhill slope. And, they take and place us in the driver's seat and say, do something about human history. Well, no society can evolve faster than it can change its mind and its language. So, speaking about the unspeakable means stretching the envelope of what can be said. When new things can be said, new plans can be laid, new directions can be found out of a crisis. And science has steered us deeply into the notion that nature is soulless and spiritless. And the practice of this idea has led us to the brink of catastrophe, global and species and ecological catastrophe. Meanwhile, these Aboriginal societies have been journeying freely to and from the spirit realm through the use of plants for as many millennia as we have been wandering in the deserts of abstraction. Now, these two halves of the human family have to make common cause, because the rainforest shaman and the Manhattan stockbroker are essentially in the same lifeboat with the same set of problems: a dissolving atmosphere, toxic oceans, overpopulation, commercialization of violence, sexism, racism, you name it. These problems imagination with the same effectiveness that they will capitalize the giant responsible imagination. Nevertheless, if we do not avail ourselves of these tools, I think the cultural enterprise is in quicksand and sinking quickly, or a kind of sinking submarine. So how can we change our mind, redesign our value systems, redesign our languages quickly enough to avert some kind of global degradation of the quality of life that will leave our children the poorer? Well, the way to do this, I think, is to get connected up with the rest of nature. Nature is a seamless community of intentionality. Nature is a gene swarm covering the surface of the planet. Biological nature, I'm talking here, is a set of interlocking strategies and intents, the sole purpose of which is to, one, survive, and to, two, maintain creative openness so that there can be further evolutionary
feeder that holds about
advance.
2 pounds of seed.
All life
Usually if I put it out by 7 by about 9.
in the multiple feedback
I think they just land next to it and beat the shit out of it until the seed falls down.
this thing
And then
called
just pick
nature.
out.
Only human
They're pretty shy though, it's hard to get a good
under
photo
the
of them.
aegis of
That's
our
one that I'm basing this photo or this painting off of.
have been able
I had
to
to stand out there for a while to get
insulate themselves through urbanization,
what I
through
like
clearing
it.
of land, through special
Incorporating it
vocabulary,
into this.
have been able to sufficiently insulate themselves to escape the implication of this natural engine of balance and equilibrium. The way back is to get this guidance connection. And if hortatory preaching could do it, the Sermon on the Mount would have been the turning point. But clearly that's not the case, and things have gotten considerably worse since the Sermon on the Mount for life. The only way back is through a direct experience of the sacral and unitary nature of being. This is a very difficult problem for us because experience is something that we have given away. We are consumers of experience handed down through a hierarchy that begins somewhere near Madison Avenue, a hierarchy of image production that causes all our values to be brought in from the outside as religion, as product fetishism, brand loyalty, ideologies. We consume these things the same way we consume petroleum and rice. What we have to do is begin to concentrate on the felt presence of immediate experience. This is what Western civilization has lost, is a sense of the felt presence of immediate experience. In other words, we have to live in the body. Ideology must serve feeling. Technology must serve intuition. What we're talking about here is a complete inversion of social values. We're talking about a feminizing of culture, a greening of culture, and a de-emphasis on mechanism and a de-emphasis on goals, the achievement of goals over these goals are achieved. One of the books that I wrote was called The Archaic Revival, and I called it that because I can discern, or I delude myself in thinking I can discern throughout the 20th century a very large cultural pattern, which is what I call the nostalgia for the archaic. It touches phenomena as diverse as Freudian and Jungian psychoanalysis, jazz, body piercing, rock and roll, New Age therapy, scarification and tattoos, house music, what all these things have, abstract expressionism, surrealism, Dada, what all these things have in common is a reverence for the irrational and the experiential, the tempos of the body. We are, in the 20th century, at last beginning to at least debate the possibility of setting off from Aristotelianism and the world of the Edwardian gentleman. And it's about time, I would say, it's the last possible moment before we will have any choice in the matter. And what I left off that list was shamanism and psychedelic plants, because when you begin to think about archaic life, about what it really meant, the shaman emerges as a paradigmatic figure. The shaman cures, the shaman travels in invisible dimensions, the shaman can rescue souls, the shaman can somehow violate ordinary space and time. And at the center of shamanism is the psychedelic experience. Now, there's a lot of haggling about this in anthropology, but just to let you know where I'm coming from, I believe shamanism without psychedelics is shamanism on its way to becoming religion. Not all shamanisms in the world are psychedelic. Some rely on ordeal, some rely on quote-unquote abnormal personalities. These are forms of shamanism that are drifting toward institutional religion. Shamanism is not, strangely enough, the product of cultural values alone. It's a series of ideas that have been built up around an experience which most people in our society have never had. It's the experience of boundary dissolution, of the collectivity of planetary life, of the presence of strange and alien dimensions filled with intelligence and intent toward.
Alright, that still has a little ways to go, but that blocks in the basic coloration of the stellar jays. And in fact, I just fed them, so I bet they're still out there gorging themselves. So I'm going to take the camera real slide-like and crack the door as fast as I can with as quietly as I can, and see if we can catch a couple of them for the process video. That would be nice. Here's a view of my mixing station. There you go. A bunch of little stir sticks. Lacquer thinner can, lacquer thinner recycle can, clean lacquer thinner can, various brushes, containers, and my baby. Good paints. Okay, so let's be quiet. And let's see what we can see. Oh, the aperture got blown out, but there were a few around. Let's see if we can zoom in on one. They're so shy. Let's see. Oh, they're taking off. Alright, well, and it'd take me 3 minutes to adjust the aperture to see it. So that's cool. Okay. Maybe I'll do some photogging later, but it's still pretty cold outside right now. Madeline tried to go outside and play at 5 a.m. and she was blaming me for the cold, and it was pretty funny seeing. But anyway, that's it for the moment. That's Stellar J blocked in.
We have drifted very, very far from a viable social system.
Uh-oh.
And that in order to return
Oop, too
to a
dark.
viable
Oh, the
social
wrong way.
system, we're going to have to
There we go.
revivify our archaic style.
There we go.
This is going on all around us
F6,
throughout the
3.
20th century, as I said, in an
So-
unconscious fashion. But I'm suggesting that we do it in a conscious fashion, and that we admit that hegemony, monotheism,
I'm trying to get it to where I can see that corner as well.
obsession.
So anyway, still has a long way to go. I need to redo her skin coloration. He'll, of course, be perched on a branch, more branches in the tree. The ants will start covering the slower part of the composition, probably cartoon-like ants more. Maybe, I'm not sure yet. Still debating the ant style or technique. They will be climbing up and around him. I'd like them to be on fire, perhaps a city in the background. And then this patterning from the bald-faced hornet will bleed out into the surrounding patterns of where the surrounding patterns will be of the petals, into the fish pattern, and then into leaf patterns that will be coming down, sweeping across through here. So this one still has a long way to go, but that's it for the moment. It's starting to get pretty interesting. Have a good day, Earth. Adam Sturch broadcasting from the Mushroom Ranch in Taos, New Mexico. Working on oil painting contact.